Dali, karibuni nzana. Najua sasa utaketi na mtu anakula kidadhi, kinenefio, KDF, na wewe hauna kidadhi, kinenefio. Unasikia njaa kwa umbali kama pilipili ya mutura. Karibuni sana. I'm going to tell you a story. Now this story, I'm first of all going to divide you into groups so that you participate in my story. This row, I am going to call you kuku. Sawa sawa? Kuku. Ile ya KFC. Sawa sawa? Alright? Ni hiyo nasema. Sio kuku ile ya sio hiyo. Chana na hiyo. Then hapa kuna chips. Nasikia hiyo ni chakula baya sana, inaharibu mwili, haijagi mwili. Yes. Yeah, inako. And then here chapati. Okay, I wanted to say chai. Let's go with chapati. Now, I can see all of you very well. So if I mention your group name and you don't stand and sit, I'm going to call you in front here to dance. And then we will play the national anthem and you will dance. You're going to dance the national anthem. Yani tutaka ile ngoma uwezi dance, now we will want you to dance and you teach us a dance. Okay? So, do not betray your group. Let's first of all do some practice. Kuku. Kuna watu kule nyuma wamekaa kama unasimama na kuketi. Okay, simama na kuketi. Usikae kama umesimama. Okay, twende kuku. Very good. Hii kuna watu pale nyuma watakuja hapa kudance. Haya twende. Haya, chapati. Wewe. Nyira keguile. Subiri wakati yako. Let me tell you mine now. Chips. Haya. Kuna watu watadance hapa. Hapa nimeona. Haya. Chapati. Chips. Kuku. Chakula. Oh, okay. Let me start with my story now. Hapo zamani za kale palikuwa na kijana mmoja ambaye alikuwa anaitwa Musa. Musa alikuwa amekaa nyumbani, ametulia hivi. Akasikia njaa, akasema nitatoka hapa niende ninunue chai. Kwa hivyo akatoka nje akanunua majani chai, sukari, akaja akatengeneza chai. Akanywa vikombe viwili. Muda akasema, siwezi kukaa hivi, lazima niende nitafute chakula kingine. Basi akatoka, na alipokuwa anatoka akamuona kuku. I said kuku. What are you waiting for? You have to stand and sit all the whole row. Aya twende. Akamuona kuku mmoja. Sawa. Akajiuliza swali, nikachukua huyu kuku, niende naye nyumbani, nikikunywa chai, nipike chapati, nimle huyu kuku na chapati, ama nikule na chips? Akapigia rafiki yake Muhammad, akamuuliza, Muhammad, wewe unajua kupika sana, kuku huwa inaliwa na chapati ama na chips? Muhammad akamwambia, kuna siku moja nilikuwa nimepika chapati moja na nikapika chapati ya pili na chapati ya tatu na wakati huo nilikuwa napika, nilikuwa na kuku wawili. Sasa nikapika kuku wa kwanza, sawa? Na nilikuwa na viazi, nikatengeneza chips. Kwa hivyo nikachukua vile viazi, nikavitengeneza chips, nikakunywa chai, nikauma chapati na kuku. Nikajihisi huo mchanganyiko wa chapati, kuku na chapati na chips haukushika vizuri. Kwa hivyo nikatulia kwa nyumba. Muhammad amwambia Musa, nikasema nitajaribu tena, baadaye nipike kuku mimi mwenyewe, nitaenda KFC. Akaenda KFC, akamuuliza muuzaji, mnauza chips na kuku? Yule muuzaji akamwambia, unataka chips ngapi? Chips sahani ngapi? Chips sahani ya kwanza na kuku wangapi? Kuku wa kwanza, kuku mbili na chai. Mrs. Tabitha, wherever you are, we want to welcome you for the second session. We're not going to have some time to dance because naona wale watu ambao wasimami pia hawezi dance. Tuseme tu kweli, let's be honest, okay? No, I'm kidding. So, Mrs. Tabitha, wherever you are at, we can come for the second session. Now, there are some activities I had shown you in the morning that we were doing. Let's ongeza that. Nikisema ugali, clap once. Ugali, ndizi, you cross your arms like this. Ndizi, like this. And chai, right thumb to the mouth. Chai, right thumb to the mouth, okay? Aya, ndizi, ndizi, ugali, chai. Ugali, ndizi, chai. Aya, let's go. Warm up your hands. Warm up your hand. Chai. So chai is here. Pay attention, huh? Pay attention, okay? One more, let's go. Aya, twende. Ugali, ndizi, chai. Chai, ndizi, ugali. Ugali, chai. Chai, ndizi. Wacha kuangalia chini. One more time. Ndizi, ugali, chai, chai. Hey, kinudhia wema yake guire, huh? All right. Let's see this row. Let's see all of us, but I'm observing this row mostly. Ndizi, ugali, chai. Chai. Oi. Let me see this row if there is any hope. 20. All of us, but I'm observing this row. 20. Look at me. Stop looking down. Aya. Chai. Ndizi. Ugali. Chai. Chai. We. Ya mwiso. Twende. Ugali. Chai. Ndizi. Okay. Quick one. Now, mental test. Let me see. I go into a bus. The bus is full of people, but there is not a single person in it. Who has the answer? This row. I go into a bus. The bus is full of people, but there's not a single person in it. This row. Come on, give me an answer. Yes. All the people are married. One clap for him. All right, good. Let me see here. A very simple one. I am walking into a farm. There are 30 cows, 28 chicken. How many didn't? I walk into a farm. There are 30 cows, 28 chicken. How many didn't? This row. Anybody on this row? Come on. Anyone on this row? 10, is it not? 28 chicken. See on? I went into a farm, 30 cows, 28 chicken. How many didn't? How many cows did not eat chicken? That's what I mean. 28 chicken. Hey, Gedhogo, Kigereza dio chida. Aya, I have 2 Kenyan coins. Total amount of these 2 Kenyan coins, this row, the total amount of these 2 Kenyan coins is 25 shillings. But one of them is not a 5 shilling coin. Which are these 2 Kenyan coins? Total value, total amount is 25 shillings, but one of them is not a 5 shilling coin. Which are these two Kenyan coins? 2 of them. 2 coins, 10 and? Do we have a 15 shilling coin? Haro? Which are these 2 coins, people? This row. Which are these two coins? Kenyan coins. 1 shilling, 10 shilling, 20 shilling, nagi 40. And 5 here. Kuna 5 up here, huh? So which are these 2 coins? Which 2 coins usually result to 25 shillings? Which coin and which coin? 5 and? Yes. So why are you not answering me? I just said one of them is not a 5 shilling coin. One of them is not. I did not say both of them are not. So it's still 10 and 5. I'm referring to the 20 shilling coin. Okay. So there you go. Now, back to chastity. We have spoken. Someone asked me this question, and I'm going to quickly respond to it before Mrs. Tabitha comes in. And may I ask, hapo tafadhali hapo nyuma naomba unitie Mrs. Tabitha tafadhali. mwambie ndio tunasumsubiri aje aanzie, ama mmesimama hapa na simuoni. Okay. No, okay. Are you all right? Chastity. We have been speaking about chastity. Now, are married people called to chastity? Should married people be chaste? Should married people be chaste? Yes or no? How many for no? Be confident. Own your answer. Should married people be chaste? Those for yes, show of hand. Even married people should be chaste. Show of hand. So all of you are saying no. All the others are saying no. So those of you who are saying yes, who wants to say why? Who wants to say why? You want to try?
Maybe if you stay true.
True to your marriage? Okay. Why should married people be chaste?
Because maybe when they are married, there are some choices that they make and they don't know what decision to make. So they may be chaste to make a decision.
Okay, now this is where I wanted to clarify for you. Chastity is not abstinence. Okay? Chastity is more than abstinence. Someone who is married and who is having sex with their spouse are chaste people. Are we together? Fidelity to your wife, to your husband is chastity. So when, take for example, we have marital rape. Have you ever heard of marital rape? Yes, where a husband demands, or even the woman demands that they have sex and by force. And there are so many cases of this. Okay? And sometimes you have the woman hurt, her cervix, her vagina is hurt because of forced penetration by the husband. You and my wife, this is going to happen. So that's lack of chastity. Yes, we are married. Yes. But that is not chastity. That means I still look at my husband or wife with respect. Simply because I'm married to them does not mean 24/7, anytime I want. Right. And we know this to be the case. When you see your dad or mom not treating each other right, it affects you. It affects you way back in school. And you know how bad that can be if there's no that sense of chastity. If you realize that your mom or dad is cheating, you don't be like, hey, your dad is like, I've got like 3, 4, 5 women out there. You're like, hey, dad, you're the man. Hey, bam, You don't go doing that. Because we know. And possibly some of us have already experienced that. We know that that's not what you want for your family, for your mom and dad. You don't want them to go around cheating. So chastity is not simply not having sex. Chastity is freedom itself. When I was in the university, we were told that for one of the weeks they're going to come to test for STIs. They're going to come and test for STIs. Sasa wale watu walikuwa washakuwa wangare madai kila wakiona mahali shimo wanapanda miti. So wale walikuwa wamefanya hiyo story, walikuwa wanaogopa kwa umbali, But for some of us, ilikuwa tu unaenda tu straight. These guys were bragging before, hey, mimi ni yule msee. But when STI testing came in, you're like, Now, are there differences, now speaking from a psychological point of view, are there differences between anxiety and depression? Are there differences between boys and girls in anxiety and depression? Yes. Girls tend to have higher levels of depression than boys by biology. And that can be triggered by your periods alone. And so what you want to do is to not make your life more difficult as more than it already is, okay? So I don't want to take more time since the speaker of the day is here. Madam Tabitha is going to speak to us on no apologies. Sema no apologies. So her conversation is titled No Apologies. And after that, you're going to have a few questions. So let's also now get the other side. First speaker was a man, a father. Let us now hear from a mom and her perspective. And as usual, if you have some few questions, write. And at the end of the engagement, we are going to respond to them. Karibu sana.
Well, good afternoon. How are you? It's really good to see all of you in here. My name is Tabitha Ogango. I am a mother, so I come with a mother's heart this afternoon. And just to ride on what Dr. Wahome said, we come because we love you as the next generation. We come because some people, professionals and busy like we are now, took their time when we were young. And they came out to schools, to colleges, and spent a lot of time telling us things. Some of those things sounded fictitious. You know, when you're young, a lot of times, sometimes when adults speak, we were there, so we'd think, oh, okay, you know, these are fun killers and all that. But I can assure you that looking back, I know that if somebody who had gone ahead of us, didn't come to say a few things to us, we would never have made it. And yet, it was so much easier for me growing up in the 70s and 80s than it is for you now. I was in high school. I graduated from high school in 1989. It's important that I put that context there. I went to Form 1 and 4 at Moi Forces Academy, which was mixed then. I know you can't imagine that. And then I went for my A-level. I belong to that old system. I went for my A-level at the Kenya High School. And then when I finished, I went to Kenyatta University. I had alma mater representatives here. I studied education. And I've been functioning in the area of education since 1994 when I graduated. I first taught at Moi High School, Kabarak, taught at Sunshine, taught at Daystar. Now I run my own school since 2010. And so I love young people. I am called to young people. And I have seen many, many young people who we have interacted with. Like Dr. Ari said, nobody can force you to do what we are saying. But we come here so that you have a bigger picture, so that when you're making your choices, you will never say, nobody told me. If there is something that breaks my heart whenever I'm in the counseling room or whenever I meet a young person online or at church, is to sit with a young person who has made mistakes and they look at me and genuinely say, they call me Auntie Tabs. Imagine Auntie Tabs, nobody ever told me that this is where I would find myself. So, I come from a program called No Apologies, and this program, we believe, is to empower young people to have no apologies for the choices they make when they are young. I want you, when you're 52, actually I'll be 53 this year, and you look back at the choices you made as a teenager or a young person, that you will have no apologies to make. If we tell you this is the wrong way, and you still choose to go the wrong way, because even God gives us a choice, so we cannot stop you from choosing. Should you choose to do what we are telling you is dangerous, we want you to be able to confidently say, I knew it was the wrong thing, and I chose to do it. And never to say, I didn't know. So that's why I'm here. I'm married to Kingston Ogango, and I'm a mother of 2 grown-up children, really. My firstborn is 25 in April, and the youngest is 20 next week. So the older one is through campus, beginning to work. The younger one is in first year university. I think that gives you a bit of context in terms of education, teaching. I trained to teach music and French. So again, I am in that area in terms of education. So what is it I want to say? I have so many things I could say. As you can imagine, the No Apologies program runs for 3 days. And I need to squish that into half an hour of what I'll just call nuggets. And then you can pick, make sure you have questions that apply to you that will help me to engage with you. I would like 2 volunteers to run up here and I will give you an exercise to do for me, which I will refer to in the course of my presentation. Any two. Those are manila papers. You see them in school, I'm sure, all the time. And this is glue. Okay? And I have been left with my own set of manila papers. Okay? Can you just show them that your manila papers are truly two and different? So you go, and what I want you to do with that glue, go and sit, is to join the two pieces of paper as tightly as possible. I have not told you to use the glue sparingly or, just give me a proper, make sure you join them, no edges, no nothing. Once you have put the glue on them and you've stuck them together, you can bring yours on here, over here, and you can bring yours over here. So we give it some time to set. Okay? Two things I'll dwell on with this presentation is that in the area of your sex and sexuality, two things I want to really narrow on is you need to understand who you are. Because when you understand who you are, there are so many traps that will not catch you. Many times we get caught because we didn't understand who we were. And then the second thing I'm going to dwell on is why sex and sexuality? Why did God create? I've been asked by young people, if God knew that we should not engage in sex until we are married, why didn't he wait for my biological functions to wake up when I get married? Young people ask many questions, and so we'll try and look at that. Because one of the biggest challenges about the season you're in, from puberty to when we are telling you should have sex, is that, hey, at about what age are children getting biologically ready for sex, so to speak, the body now? About what age? About what age girls do menses begin and do boys, is it in high school? Yeah, like about what age? Class 5, class 6, these days even lower, isn't it? When they start saying, at puberty, what happens? The voice changes, the body does, those things. You remember you learned them a long time ago. And you remember now that's when biologically, your body begins to tell you like, hey, you're ready for something more, you're not a child, isn't it? If they are boys, I don't see so many boys' schools, which is of concern. But if you're a boy and they take you through, what are those rites they go through? Rites of passage? When they are coming out, the community is telling you, hey, you're a man. Don't go to the kitchen, don't sit with your mom. They are telling you all sorts of messages that are very contradictory to what even God is saying. Because if somebody is telling you now you're a man, now you can be a father, your biological body is telling you the same thing, isn't it? And then we here are and we are telling you, by the way, there is danger. If you buy some of those notions, whether biological or cultural, that's where we begin to go wrong. If you come from some communities, that's the particular age when some parents will shoo the girls off for early marriage, isn't it? And if it succeeds, well, they settle, they start having children and stuff like that. So, let me go back to number one. Who are you? Two things I want to say. God created you as a very complex. God doesn't create simple things. You're very complex. A lot of times, all we remember about ourselves is the physique. Isn't it? Like if I disappeared from here, and maybe we will never meet again. But if I make good impact in your lives, maybe 10, 15 years from now, you might forget my name, but you might say, oh, there was this lady. And then what you will remember about me most is the physical. How she was dressed, that's what, and then now maybe what I said that had an impact on your life. So our physical presentation, young people, sometimes cheats us that you're just physical. I'm here to tell you that God created you as a multi-dimensional being. You are not just physical. You are intellectual. You have a brain. You are emotional. You are spiritual. That's why when people die, it's not over. There's more to this life than, just here. So you're physical, you're intellectual, you're spiritual. There's the ethical being, right and wrong. Things that happen within you. And then the other one we don't like when we are teenagers or young people, we like and we don't like, you're social. If I asked you what's your name, like if you ask me what's my name, I'll tell you my name is Tabitha Ogango. Now, or I'll tell you Tabitha Sungu Ogango. Now, who is Ogango? It could be my father, or it could be my husband. Is he here? Why am I saying that's my name? Because I'm social. Anything I do will have an impact on the people called Ogango, whether I like it or not. Because I'm connected with them. If I was using now my maternal name, Ogango is my husband's name. If I was using my family name, where I came from, anything I do affects them. I belong to them because I am social, whether I like it or not. I see people here in uniform, isn't it? If we caught one of you doing something crazy, before we even begin to say, who are you, who is your father, who is your mother, we will say, girls from Our Lady of Mass, we will brand you based on your school because that is your social network. So young people, whether we like it or not, we belong to a social network that defines who we are, defines even the opportunities we are going to have. You'll be surprised, my friends, that school is not just school for A's and B's. Some people in this room, in your day, will become great people. I hope all of you. In the government, in all sorts of places. And you will be happy to be associated with them, or they'll open doors for you. Why? Because you went to the same school. That's all. Are you hearing me right? So we are social. Let's talk about the issue that brings us here, sex and sexuality, chastity. If we go the wrong way with our purity issues, whether you like it or not, you don't just get affected physically, meaning STI, pregnancy, you also get affected intellectually. You get affected emotionally. You get affected spiritually. You get affected socially. And you affect all those who are connected with you. If there is nothing else you hear from me, allow me to let you know that your decision of whether to be chaste or not is not a personal decision. Okay, it is a personal decision, but the consequences therein go beyond just you. Let me talk to the girls, and I am not bashing or shaming. When you get into a situation where you get involved in sex, and then you get pregnant, okay? Your mother, who may not even have known that you are in that kind of relationship, suddenly, huyo ni ule mama anakuanga na watoto wanalalala na watu wengine. Have you heard things like that? This woman doesn't know how to raise her children. Suddenly, your sister, suddenly your school, suddenly you have just affected the people who God put in your social network. My prayer for you, if you hear me well, is to say, whenever you're making decisions in anything in life, please remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember whose you are. And remember that the consequences of your choices and decisions will affect more than you. Sometimes that is enough to keep you safe. Sometimes that is, you just say, hey, for the sake of my mom, who has sacrificed so much, for the sake of my dad, for the sake of my brother, sometimes that becomes a deterrent. The second thing I want to say about who you are, apart from being multidimensional, and this one I will not go too much in detail. You can do a lot of tests on who you are in terms of your personality. Are you an extrovert, outgoing, or are you an introvert? If you go further, there are different types of personality. groupings that people are in. Those are tests you should try and do. And in the area of sexuality, there are certain personality types that will be more prone to certain issues. Look, you're a sanguine, you love people, you love to be touched, you love to, you're going to have a struggle with setting boundaries that will keep you safe in the area of chastity. So if you know yourself, then you will draw your boundaries a little further than somebody who is naturally an introvert. You understand? Because for them, it takes a bit long to draw them out. But I'm not saying that anybody is safe in this thing. I'm just saying that understanding who you are helps you draw your boundaries in the right way. Because who you are determines what kind of mistakes are easy. If the enemy was looking for you, they know what to throw at you. You know? What to throw at you, and it's a bait. You know, imekubeba. You know, some people, even in the area we're talking about, if I came and brought sweets to try and lure you into trouble, you know, some of you will look at that and think, that's cheap, isn't it? Somebody else, that will floor them. Somebody, it's money. And then, how much money? Some people, guys in campus. Some people, it's grades. I don't know if it's happening in schools. When I was in campus many years ago, we had what was called sexually transmitted grades. I don't know if they exist. There are people who never went to class, but they got grades. And some of them even graduated with first-class honors. Am I saying something? I don't, you know, it's many years ago since I was in school. You know, your days could be different. So let's be very aware of who we are and what space we are walking in, because then when we speak about boundaries and stuff like that, it's going to make sense for you what works and what doesn't. Remember, you're multidimensional. And number 2, remember God created you with a personality type, okay? I'm not a big fan of psychology because of some of the things it brings in, but there are things in there that we need to learn. Why sex and sexuality? Allow me to say that the creator of something knows the purpose of that thing. Who created sex? Did God create anything bad? So if God created sex, and sex is good, do you believe that God knows why he created sex? And do you believe that God knows why he positioned sex in marriage? Can I ask any of you, do you think you know why God would create this good thing called sex and then position it in marriage? Anybody who thinks they know why is sex positioned in marriage, and yet really, at 13, 14, I feel ready for this thing. I feel I need it sometimes. Why did God position sex in marriage? Anybody? Yes, I see a hand over there, right? Anybody? Put your hand right. Stand up so that the mic can come to you. Because if you know the purpose, you know the creator, you know why he positioned it there, it might just help you to relax and say, okay, yeah. Remember the example we were given this morning of this is where I sit and this is where I go to the toilet. Can you imagine if I gave you, I create a cup and then you decide to use the cup to comb your hair? Would it work? Yeah, same thing. Why did God create sex? And why did God then position it in marriage? So, anybody else has another answer? If you have an answer, yeah, stand up so that we just get those answers quickly, maybe 2 or 3.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Paula Eunice Wairemo from Our Lady of Mercy Girls High School. And in my level of reasoning, I think God placed sex in marriage because sex comes with responsibilities. Yeah.
Which can only be
fulfilled in a marriage because you are two, you can be able to help each other to be able to solve those issues and responsibilities that are as a result of sex. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Clap for her. Clap for her. Somebody here. Is there anybody else? You can stand and shout. No, you need a microphone. And I've just taken him from there. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Melda from St. Michael's Secondary School. So God put sex in marriage because, for example, I'm 13 years old and I want to engage in sex. I don't know the man who I want to engage in sex if he has sexually transmitted diseases, and if I engage in sex with him, I may be affected.
Okay. STI. So if you're in marriage, there's somebody over there, maybe the last one. So if you're in marriage and there's STIs, you will handle them together. Oh. You'll go to the doctor together, right? Why must sex be in marriage is the question.
My name is Peter. The reason why sex should be placed in marriage is because of the power of seminale rationale.
Whoa. Tell us about that.
That is the power that the Lord puts in you. It's a seed for continuation of his creation, because God will not create every other day. So he placed that power in me and in you so that at that time, the right time in marriage, I can still continue with the work of creation.
Super. Co-creation. Clap. We are good. Allow me, I hope you have all thought, if you had the mic, what you would say. But allow me to give you a very simple reason. Simple, from a mother's heart. God knew that when you start having sex, you're going to be needing more sex. Yeah, when you start having sex, you see, if you've never had sex, anybody in this room who has never had sex, by the way, you don't know what you're missing. So you're not going to be craving for it and looking for it. And you don't know. You're safe. Okay? But anybody who has ever had sex, the minute you start having sex, you're going to be needing more sex. So for God to protect you, he has to have sex in a manner where when you need it, there's a supplier. Because if you need sex na supplier hayuko, utafanya nini? Sasa ni huku, na kule, then now you just create a whole mess. Are you getting me? Sex belongs to marriage because it is everything we had earlier this morning. It's for the commitment, it's a covenant symbol. It makes two one. You know, God's purpose for sex is not a game. You know, the things we talk about, you know, and that's why God positioned sex in marriage. So if you're going to skip and say, oh, I'm old enough, oh, I feel, oh, sijui, biology says what, you are going to be in a big mess. Imagine you're in high school, you went for holiday, you started experimenting with sex, sasa umerudi shule. Kuna kuanga aje hivyo sasa. See, you now start disturbing other people and start getting into all sorts of things to try and meet a need which you have opened up before it's time. Okay? Let me give you some scriptures to write down because you will be able to refer to them later. I love the book of Song of Songs, okay? And in that book of Song of Songs, 3 times, this is what the Bible says: daughters of Jerusalem, do not awaken love before its time. And I'm not in any way saying that love is sex. You know, that's now a discussion of another time. The Bible also says that, do you think you can take coal, fire, put it on your lap and not burn? You know, those are some of the things we are doing. When we open up this box, we are telling you, wait. But you go ahead and say, oh, I thought he loves me. Oh, I thought she loves me. I thought that it was the right time. It's not about timing, by the way. Timing is important, But in my opinion, positioning where sex should be had is more important. Look, if you're 50 and you're not married, you have no business having sex. Because sex was not for when you grow up, when you're older. It was for when you are married to one person of the opposite gender. You know, these days we have to say everything. Proverbs 6:27 to 28 talks about picking the fire, putting it on your laps and thinking you're going to be safe. That's what is taking us into trouble. So, because of time, I know that there's a lot I could say about that, but I'm saying, young people, God, the creator of sex, chose to position it in marriage because he knew that sex, number one, is a beautiful thing. It is not dirty. It is a good thing. It is a powerful force. Somebody already said that. And if you begin to engage in it outside the confines of marriage, then you're abusing it. You're not using it the right way. Then the consequences therein become what you cannot handle. And then, because you're a social person, you bring other people in that network of yours. If children come, we start hearing people saying unwanted pregnancy. Really? Unwanted? You know? People say, I didn't know I would get pregnant. I normally ask young people, is it possible in this setting where we are now? Can sex happen? Right now, the way we are. Yeah, it has to do with setting. Do you just wake up and, oops, oh, I just had sex? No. There is, even you can see, I am headed there. It's a progression, people. And I'm coming to my next point. You must set proper boundaries that say, in No Apologies, we normally say, what can keep you safe? Number one, if you're alone and nobody else is around, you need to know chochote chaweza kutokea if you mess up boundaries. Okay? I know in your generation, we are having things that we never heard about them in our generation, where you can be 5, 6, and these things are happening. Those are totally obnoxious. But if you're alone and nobody else is around, you've gone too far. Number two, if buttons and zippers are involved, you've gone too far. Is it possible to have intercourse with your clothes on the way you are now? Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible? Si lazima mtu aanze kutoa kushikashika buttons, na pale kuna zips pia zianze kuchezwa nazo. The minute somebody starts playing with buttons and zips, something in your head needs to tell you, we unaenda wapi? You're going too far. This we used to say long ago, now it's a bit dicey. We used to say, if you wouldn't want your mother or father around, you've gone too far. Because young people, we have the tendency to keep saying, how far is too far? How far is too far? We didn't even have intercourse. Let me tell you, let us draw our boundaries in safe places. If you're going to be chaste, if you're serious about purity, imagine there are some places you will not go. There are some people who will not be in your company. There are some games you will not play. And there are some things you will not do. Chastity is a choice. It is the best choice. It is the safest choice. But nobody can make it for you. You have to engage your intellectual person and for yourself draw your boundaries. Say, for me, because I am choosing chastity, I will not, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wewe mwenyewe. From everything you're hearing us say, draw your own 3 commandments or 4 commandments of chastity and put in your mind, so that the day you are making that commitment for marriage, you are proud enough to tell your partner, I waited for you. You're proud enough to tell your partner, I kept myself for you. You know, and imagine if we got ourselves into groups of, even if it's 3, 4, we will create a movement of many young people who are waiting in spite of the great pressure around. We must have a group that says, no, this thing is not right. No, this thing is not good for us. This thing is going to finish us. I mean, I cannot begin to overemphasize the dangers that come with sex out of marriage. But I guess as we go along, you will be able to pull that down. Let me talk about something about the gender issue with this chastity, sex, and I've talked about purpose, why sex, and why in marriage. Let me talk about girls and boys. Huh? Who is the stronger one in this area of choice around sexuality? Is it the girl or the boy? Huh? How many of you say girls? Be confident with your choice and wave so I see. Okay, how many of you say boys? Okay. I will not ask, but you can ask in the question time. Let me tell you. I tell young people, for boys, girls, for boys, if you walk in here and a boy looks at you and thinks you're cute, for whatever reason, you know cuteness, or they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, a guy looks at you and thinks, hey, wow, malaika alianguka hapa kutoka mbinguni. Those things they tell you. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Did they tell you things like that? If I had the power, I would rearrange the alphabet and I'll put you and I next to each other. By the way, these things were not there in my day. I've learned from you guys. You know, like a guy comes to you and says, oh my God, did it hurt when you fell from heaven? You know, because, hey, we ni malaika. You know, mtu anachora malaini zinakustua, so that now anything he says after, you are so flawed. You know? But I'm proposing this, and like we've said, there are no full answers. I'm proposing this. In my opinion, in the area of sexuality, these boys, I'm seeing a few here, they go by sight. They go by sight. They look at you, they think you're cool. Yani wanatetemakanga tu kutoka ndani. Washaisha. Lakini sasa msichana wewe, and I'm not saying it is 100%. How many of you girls see a boy and you just melt, you can't walk? It can happen, but it's rare. Sindio? I'm saying girls, we women carry the consequences of misuse of this powerful gift in a bigger way. But was God unfair? No. God still gave us lead time to know huyu anaenda kuniangusha. You know, by the time as a girl, you are... The guy has done quite a bit of things, by the way. Tunapatana? I'm speaking gibberish. I'm saying, girls, God has given you the power to be able to see, hapana wewe vile unaenda, ebu kaa mbali kwanza. And then we also help these boys to stay away from us by being a little more focused and by not allowing them. Don't allow them. What are they doing with their hands? What are they doing with your mind? What are they doing with your emotions? Push. So that you also, we cannot as ladies keep crying that somebody took advantage of us. Of course, there are those cases that they do. But I'm saying, can we use the power that God has given us to foresee the traps and to put the boundary a bit high so that si ati kila siku tumetegwa, si ati kila siku hatukuelewa. And boys, as our brothers, can you take care of us? Can you boys look at every girl within your class, within your neighborhood as a sister and look out for them? Personally, I got married 25 years ago. Before I got married, we had very, let me just call them clean and healthy relationships. And even at the point at which my husband was thinking he would marry me, I was shocked. Yani, we have been praying for a husband and it's just you. You know how you get disappointed, like, I thought this guy would come from, I don't know what I was thinking, you know. But then at that point, I have got so many of friends in my social circle where he also is, that I can talk to as a brother, as a friend, and say, imagine King has said this, what do you think? So I'm trying to say, in your generation, is it possible to create relationships between, across the gender that are clean? Not every girl you see or every boy that you're in their circle, should you be thinking sexual? Is it possible to have brother-sister genuine relationships that mean that we are taking care of one another, that we want the best for you? You know, if I'm with some guys na wanapanga vile watatega so and so, I mean, can I tell them, and can I, don't say you're snitching, can I tell the girl, ebu jichunge nani, huyu nani anataka kukuharibia? Is it possible? I am calling you out to that, because that's what is going to keep us safe. We need a community around us that says, hey, we are waiting. We are waiting for when we'll get married. I'm looking out for you. And you can count on me to keep you safe. You can count on me. You know, the fact that you're in my circle doesn't mean that every time we are relating, there's a sexual overtone around our interaction. That is what I am calling us out to. The fear of God will keep you safe. If God has said, wait, and you fear God, you will wait. So I'm calling you up to up your spiritual commitment and your spiritual convictions, and to believe that God loves you and wants the best for you. And then, even if you don't believe what I'm saying, or what your parents are saying, or what your teachers are saying, at least believe that God wants the best for you. And if he says wait, then you can wait, because that way, it will be good for you. As I run to the end, in 1 Chronicles 12:32, you know, there were these guys called the sons of Issachar. The Bible says that they understood the times and they knew what to do. My prayer for you young people in this conference is that God will give you a wisdom to understand the times you're living in. I have been telling young people that I've been doing this program with young people for a long time now. And I'm trusting God to give me people in your age group, in the 20s, in the 30s, who can run with this message with passion and tell the next generation to keep away from this modern thing. Guys, the media and all that over-sexualizing of things is not giving us room to have a pure environment within which to relate. Who is going to push back? You need to push back. You need to be able to say, no, I'm not going to, board on that one. I'm not going to do dirty jokes. I'm not going to send around, dirty, I'm not going to engage in those kind of conversations that lead me the wrong way. You need to understand the times. In your generation, we are having to say, I am married to a man. Honestly. Why would I need to say that? Marriage should be between a man and a woman. Yeah? And God needs to give you the conviction to say, to see something, understand the times you're living in, understand what things people are trying to push into your generation, and be able to stand up and say, wait a minute, in the beginning it was not so. That is not what God intended. And then you push back. I am speaking as a mother. When I have a baby in my stomach, I am protecting them, I'm eating right, I'm doing, all that. When they come out and they are little, I'm running all around them and keeping everything safe and removing everything dangerous from the way. But then they get to a point, and now you need to fend for yourselves. You need to be able to see what is dangerous in your environment and run away. And may God give you young people the wisdom to understand the times and to know what to do, not to be carried away by every doctrine, not to find ourselves because we've been to school and because the professors are saying to believe it and begin to argue against the very things that God would have wanted for us. I'm here to say you're living in a time when you must take care of yourself. You're living in a time when you must draw your boundaries. Sometimes your teachers can't keep you safe. Sometimes we can't keep you safe. But you need to see danger and run away from it. You need to know that you need to delay gratification. Nobody has ever died from not having sex. Doctors can help me if that has, as in the pressure has been so much until mtu akakufa. But many people have died from misusing this powerful gift from God. May God help you to form personal values around your entertainment, around your dressing, around your friends, because then that will help you to have no regrets for the choices you make. Let me have my papers back and then begin to invite, I believe, questions. Let me have my papers back just to inspect them. If you have any questions, I think begin to, is it write them or?
First of all, let's give Mrs. Tabitha a round of applause. Tafadhali. Yeah. Ile mzuri twende mara moja, mara moja, mara moja, mara nne, mara nne, mara kumi. I'll ask you, Mrs. Tabitha, just to have a seat over here. I don't know if she told you she has a specialization in music, French, life skills, the director of Gifted Hands High School. Yeah, so she's well versed in what she does. Okay, so kabla tujaanza kuchukua maswali, nataka I request Sharon, wherever you are, to be available. Tony Itabari, Akech Aimba. Sharon will tell you more about these people. Anyingi Wahome. Okay. In the meantime, DJ, naomba sasa tusimame kidogo. All of us. Stand up, be upstanding. DJ, let's go. Yeah, be upstanding. Yeah. Be upstanding, stretch kidogo. Yeah. Pale huko, just, yeah, do some moves. Yeah, just relax. Kidogo, yeah, wale, those people have called. Please come to the stage, dance kidogo, stretch your shingo, Hata kama ni kustretch kidogo tuna mabega hivi kidogo. Yeah. Wako wapi? Naomba wale watu tumeita waweze kuja hapa mbele. Haya. Watu wajui kudance. Hata mimi sijui kudance. I also don't know. Okay, follow me then. Tufanye ya mtu ambaye hajui kudance. Twende mabega tu. Yeah, twende. Just stretch a little bit. A bit. Twende. Hey, twende. All right, have a seat. Please, have a seat. And now, DJ, we're going to have, this Q&A session is going to be moderated by Sharon. It's a Q&A and it's a panel discussion. So the questions that I directed to Mrs. Tabitha are also going to be taken during this time. So if you have any questions, you can raise up your hand. I'm going to come and pick them. And then Sharon is going to take us through. So, karibu sana.
Good afternoon. How are we doing? How is the session so far? We have enjoyed, right? So my name is Sharon Omedo. I work as a programs officer at the Kenya Christian Professionals Forum. And we are going to have a session. It's a Q&A session where I'm going to ask our amazing panelists a set of questions. And you also have a chance to ask them questions. Sawa sawa? So this is a point we're not just going to hear, we've had them talk for a long while. I would request you to kindly write the that you have, and then we will ask them as we move forward, okay? That's okay? Yes. With me here, we have Ms. Tabitha Ogango, who has just spoken to us extensively. I believe we all remember she had introduced herself. Next, we have Mr. Tony Itabari. Karibu sana sa. Tony Itabari is a teacher of English and literature at Moi Forces Academy. He's also a life coach, and he fellowships at Sitam Buruburu. He's an author of a book titled Love and Lust. Next, we have Miss Akech Aimba. Isn't she looking lovely? She is. She never disappoints. Miss Akech Aimba is a founder of Pearls and Treasures. I know we had some, during the break time, we saw some of the organizations out there. Pearls and Treasures is one of them, Pearls and Treasures Trust. She founded the organization in 2010 with the aim of reaching out to women who have been wounded by abortion to help them find healing and restoration. She has used her personal story of a painful past of abortions and finding healing in the media and other platforms to draw women and make them understand that they can also find their own healing if they share their personal pain. She's a very passionate speaker on abortion and responsible sexuality. Aren't we lucky to have her in this place? She is a minister, a socialpreneur, a trainer, a counselor, and a mentor. From a communications background, she's currently pursuing a bachelor's of theology to become a better minister. Next, we have Nyingi Wahome. I believe he looks like the youngest in our panel today. Nyingi Wahome is a dedicated public health professional with a passion for advocating for the rights of young people. As an African Regional Advocacy Fellow in the World Youth Alliance, he is committed to affirming human dignity and promoting person-centered approaches to primary prevention in the African region. With his extensive knowledge and experience, he's dedicated to addressing pressing health concerns and making a positive impact on the lives of the people in the African region. Kindly just appreciate my panelists as we begin. So thank you. I don't know whether we have mics for each and every one of us, or we can share. Yes, I'd like to just have my panelists introduce themselves. Again, there are some information I have not shared, whether you have a family or not. Where did you do your high school? Where did you study? And if possible, where you also went for your campus studies. And also because we are in event of the Chastity conference, we are talking about responsible human relationships. Can you just share something small as we begin on chastity? Karibu-san, we can start from Nyingi.
Is it afternoon yet?
Yes, it is afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like you've heard, my name is Nyingi Wahome. I work with the World Youth Alliance. Let's see.
Where did you do your high school?
Okay, so for high school, I was in two schools. Okay, let me just start from primary. I finished my class 8 in Juja Preparatory and Senior School, and then I went to Light Academy, and then Rusinga School. That's where I finished my A-levels.
You can tell from the English, right? If it bypasses, you ask your neighbor to translate. Yes.
Went to a group of schools.
Thank you. What can you share to us about chastity?
I think the perspective I want everyone, what I want to bring out is that what you want to achieve in life is what you're aiming at. The path to that thing that you want to achieve, one of the things that you have to apply is chastity. So when you're looking at chastity, look at it as a sacrifice that you have to make to get where you want to go. Okay? The goal is not chastity. The goal is what you're aiming at. But if you veer off that path, then you won't get there. All right? I think we'll talk more about it as the questions come.
Thank you very much. Allow me to skip Ms. Tabitha. We can go to Mr. Tony.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, this is Tony Kimathi Itabari. As Sharon introduced me, I'm a teacher by profession. I teach English and literature, so I'm so excited to see high school students right here. About school, if I would take you to where I started school, that would be such a long journey. So high school, I did that in a school in Meru called Kanyakine Boys. Later, between 2013 and 2017, I was at KU. I've seen also campus students here, so it's such a joy. And I'm so grateful to be part of this panel to talk about matters chastity. Back then in campus, we used to have chastity campaigns aided by Focus Kenya. And it's such a joy to have such conversations. It's not conversations we hold oftenly, especially among young people. And I feel it is such a wonderful opportunity to come and share with us.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You said you were in high school in which year?
I cleared 2012.
In
High school.
2012.
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to tell us where they were in 2012? 2012. It's just the other day, right? Just 11 years ago. Yes, it's so old. Thank you very much, Mr. Itabari. Yes, now we can hear from Mr. Kech.
Hi, people. Guys, I love energy. Give me energy. Hi. Good afternoon. You've just done 20%, so I'm hoping more energy will come, after. But my name is Akech Aimba, and I think they've read my profile, so I don't need to say much. Now about high school. Where?
Tell us.
I schooled in a place called Kitale, a school called St. Joseph's Girls High School. Good school. In Kitale, Trans Nzoia County. Yes.
High school.
That's high school.
Oh yeah. Campus.
Campus. Now, this is when I'm doing my degree. I'm doing my bachelor's in theology. At my age, this is just to give you hope. It's never too late, but for me, I follow the path of God, and this is when He's allowed me to do it. I wanted to study communication, which I did, and at the time I was studying communications, they were only offering diploma at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, only. So, so it's a long story, but yeah, this is when I'm going into campus.
Just to clarify, when were you in high school?
Shelele.
When were you in? We won't judge.
I tell you, I was in high school in 1997. That's when I cleared my high school. Yes,
Well, some people were not even zygotes. They
I
were not
know.
even close to being a fetus.
I know. But I know I look 25.
Yeah, she looks so young, right? We want to look this fine when we are her age, right? She should give us the secret.
I
Thank
shall
you.
see me after this.
Definitely. Thank you very much. And I know we have been in this place and you've had conversations about chastity from when Dr. Wahome began and now to Miss Tabitha who has spoken to us. I will start with Tony. What do you think is the goal of remaining chaste? What is the goal of remaining chaste? And why must we put so much emphasis on it?
Thank you, Sharon. So I think for me, the goal of being chaste, first is the fact that that is what God requires of us. For us to build strong families, for us to build a powerful society, a great nation, it has to start with us being pure. So we remain chaste because we are obeying God's command to remain chaste, apart from so many other benefits that we might reap from it socially. But I feel the goal is fulfilling God's command. God wants that of us, so it is very important for us to do it. Then eventually this will help us build, first of all, faithful or become faithful children of God, building strong families, building strong society. And eventually this help us as a country.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can hear from Akech also. Why must we emphasize on chastity?
And I like the word chastity because when you talk about abstinence, it's very, there's a time you reach where you can have sex. But being chaste, it encompasses everything. It encompasses how you live your life, what you touch, what you see. I usually say chastity is about purity of the heart, purity of the mind, and purity of the body. Because by the time you're talking about purity of the body, your mind and your heart has to be pure. And the goal is so that you can live a life that is rich, a life that is full the way God wanted you to live your life. Because if you take shortcuts in your sexuality, then there are repercussions that will shortchange and sabotage your life. So that should be the goal of being chaste. Fullness of life or holistic life.
Thank you. Nyingi, do you have anything to add on that?
Is this okay? Well, I think it's come out very clearly that what you want to achieve through your chastity is what you are created to do. Okay, so like Akash has talked about shortcuts. If you were to go and you have an exam and you cheat through, so there's some things that we might do now that you don't see the consequences of later. It might seem like a small thing and everything, but the instructions, I think, in the Bible are they're all for the benefit of us achieving what it is that we're here to do. So if you follow those instructions, whether you understand them or not, then you'll get there, okay? If you do your studies and if you study and get competent and then do your exam, even though you don't see the use of that information at that time, you will feel it later on, right? So as we go through this conversation, then I think it's important to understand that we're aiming at something, okay? And the path to that something is by remaining chaste. That it's chastity gets us where we want to get to and gets us to what we were created to do.
Thank you. That's very incredible. And as you can see here, we have different age groups, if I may say. So, Ms. Tabitha, you have had this conversation from your time and up to now. You can probably remind us when you did your high school and campus. And the reason we are having this conversation is because for some, it is the norm. Remaining chaste is something they don't have a problem with, but for some is a problem.
Do you really believing God and the people that have been placed in your life to say wait or turn right, turn left? But in terms of I got married at 27 and I was a virgin.
Wow,
okay?
Amazing.
And
possible.
And by the way, the issue of virginity is, it's embarrassing to say, I haven't done it. That was the case in my day. That is the case even now. Because the pressure was the same. Like, you haven't done it? When I was in Moi Forces, it was a mixed school. So you can imagine, I mean, break time, evening, Saturdays, and until the girls were thrown to Lanette. When 844 began, the girls had to be thrown away because now this story could not work. So I'm saying the pressure in my day and the pressure now is the same. Any cool kid should be doing it. Any cool kid should be able to sit with others and say, so and so, see how many. Okay? But I believe that the landscape now is more tricky. Why? The society is over-sexualized now. Okay. In my days, TV started at 4. It was one channel, KBC. It took almost half an hour to warm up before it came on. And then, one channel, for heaven's sake. And there was no Hollywood. It was acting, so how much sexualized acting can happen? You know what I mean? Yeah. So in terms of influence for us to think, that kind of pressure was very low, okay? Then we had families that worked, largely, even if some didn't, we had very good examples. And so we wanted to wait if this is what we were going to go to. So I see a difference in that. And then I think just the whole world movement, pushing for different choices and availability of different things. And the heroes of our society today being that cool guy who is the politician or who is the TikToker, who, that wasn't there in my day. So I believe that the pressure on us to fit in was lower. The other big difference is that in my day, even non-believers didn't have sex. They waited for marriage. It was a societal value. So it wasn't about, I'm a Christian, so I'm going to be chaste. It was a societal value that you wait to have sex when you're married. Yeah.
Thank you. So clearly, there's a few things that have changed. We have a lot of information. We have platforms where we can see the sexualized society as opposed to when we were previously. As I presume most of us in this place have phones, which probably in your generation, very few people, that is if even you had phones that existed, smartphones during that time. But in this place, how many of us have phones? How many have phones? Yes, we can see both for campus, I think now almost all campus students, and not just phones, smartphones, where we can access internet, we can access a lot of information that does not speak about the value and of chastity. So you have talked about the pressure that's there. Tony, how do we handle that pressure that we face in the society? As Ms. Tabitha has shared, that getting married as a virgin is not something we are proud to say. People are now proud and confidently share illicit illicit content that they share around pornography. We have people who are masturbating and they're actually proud to say it. So how do we navigate through this pressure either as a person who is single and also those who are in relationships? How do you navigate that pressure?
Allow me, first of all, pick it from where she left. You've just asked how many people have smartphones. And it reminded me last week doing one of life skills classes back in school. And I asked the same question. And then a young man stands and says, Molimu, don't waste your time. Everyone here has a smartphone, but they are not going to tell you that. And he continues to tell us how long he uses his phone back at home. And how he's able to, use his phone up to 3 a.m. and the parents do not know. So he tells us during supper time, around 10, 9, he will actually not use his phone because he wants to convince the parents that he's not interested in this phone. So he will give his younger brother to play games with it. But immediately parents goes to sleep, for him life starts. That's around 11. And he told us a journey of how he goes into social media platforms and he confessed watching pornography every night at around 2 a.m. And it's like a pattern. And she has mentioned something very important, that what has changed is first, the family. Because families really build value system in the lives of children. So I feel like that is the first place we have a challenge, where maybe parents are not available enough to actually limit the use of mobile phones by the children, or perhaps teach them how to responsibly use them. But also you realize that in our time, most of the young people, the high schoolers, their greatest home is at school because they go home for 1 week holiday and we are with them in school. And you might want to ask, how much of these values are we inculcating in them? Because the truth is, for us to know how to react to this and how to maneuver through this, then we must see, how much danger there is. Our context today, what these young people are exposed to. And you've talked about handling pressure, because it is true with all this information. When I get back these students who have been away for around 7 weeks and they have been using their phones and they have been on TikTok, and she mentioned something very important. They are looking at their idols, those people who have succeeded in the society. Are these people who are embracing 1, 2, 3 or wrong sexuality? So they come with this in mind. So that means we must define again what success really means and help them walk in that path, so that they don't just want to become like this idol who is compromised, who is corrupt, who seem to be succeeding out there. You realize in our times, for example, Hollywood, most of these movies and series with the wrong sexuality, allow me to call it that, the characters you find in a series or a movie, the character who is queer, they strategically will ensure that this character succeeds. It's a very successful character in the society. Is an admirable character. I teach literature, and you can force people to love a character in work of literature. So these people are very deceptive. So when our young people watch these movies, they will eventually fall in love with these characters and think this is normal. And if I want to succeed, I need to walk this path and that path. And now if this is the reality, then the truth be said is that the responsible, or rather the elder members of the society, responsible members of the society, we must be willing to walk and mentor these young people and begin these conversations. Not so many people want it, and this is one of such forums. So churches, schools, and every other society needs to be brave enough to to have candid conversations around matter sexuality. But the other thing is, we must train the younger generation to know that everything you have to be intentional about anything. You have to be intentional about sexuality. You have to be intentional about relationships. These are not the days high schoolers used to ask you whether boy-girl relationships are wrong. Actually, we no longer answer those questions. They are at home with them. You know, we have now to help them to think about, do I need this at this age? I always tell them, if you're not dating for marriage, then you are dating for breakup, for heartbreak. So that when they come back crying, my boyfriend has left me, my girlfriend has left me, I'm asking them, what was the plan? What did you expect? Because once they start seeing it, at the end of the day, it might hurt me. And it's not about being wrong and right. You learn, the younger generation really doesn't want fences around. Sometimes they ask you, why would God create something so good, then put so many fences around it? So anytime it's about don't do this, don't do that, they don't love that language. Maybe you want to go down where they are and show them first how it affects them socially. So I feel like it's a whole idea of, let's first of all have these conversations right. Because you agree with me, if we form solid character, if you want to fight against lie, learn the truth. The very same water that propels a ship, it's the same water that sinks a boat. So this is our environment. This is our world. How will we live within it? And again, don't you forget that a ship does not sink because it is in water. Actually, because water gets in it. Mm-hmm. So we could live in such a deceptive world, tough times, and it might never get better. But then once we help the young people form a solid character, then they are able to maneuver and survive in this generation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You have something to add?
Yes, please.
Okay.
On the same, I think one of the things this generation is grappling with is that they are the most love-deprived generation, okay? Love-deprived generation, attention-deprived generation, right from the family. If you were very honest in this room, and if I would ask, how many of us come from a single-parent home? Don't raise up your hand because I don't want to embarrass you. Many hands will go up. How many come from broken families? Maybe there was a divorce. Many hands will go up. How many come from families where they've seen their fathers bring a girlfriend, or had their father had? Many hands will go up. And for me, that is the root of, one of the roots of what we are seeing today. Because they are it's a generation that is looking for love and attention like no other generation we've seen. Because if they've not seen love and attention from home, that's where we are supposed to know our first love, from home. Then they will begin to search for that love from the people they are around. As Ms. Tabitha said, we are social beings. And we have that need to be loved and accepted. Yes. So if at home there is pandemonium, if at home there is craziness, if at home I am not loved, then I will look for that love in my fellow peer at school, be it a girl or a boy. And that's why there's also the issue of homosexuality, not because you're born that way. In fact, nobody's born that way. It's because we are looking for attention. We are looking for acceptance, okay? So for me, I'd like to say this, and I know Mr. Tony has said, there are things we will say here that you don't want to hear, but unless you know yourself in Christ, and know his unconditional love, A human being will fail you 100%. Even the ones who are married in this room, they will tell you there are times they don't want to look at their spouses because they've hurt them. How much more you who is trying to understand yourself? Your peer will not help you. Your peer is also trying to understand themselves. Your peer is also hurting because at home there is crazy issues, okay? So know yourself in Christ. Find your identity in Christ, not the unconditional love of Christ. Let Christ form your character and give you that love that you're looking for. The world will break you into 2 million pieces. I will not lie to you.
Thank you very much.
Can I also
Nyingi, you have something to add?
Yes.
Yes.
Just another thing is the temptations that exist in the world today, you're not the first ones dealing with them, okay? I liked that the pressure that is going on today, it's not just a generational one, it's something that has existed before. I was told a story about Kikuyu culture. Yeah, so when in traditional Kikuyu culture, if you interact with an old man, whistling at night is forbidden. It's calling the devil, apparently, yeah. But what I was told a story about how that started. Yeah, and apparently then it used to be a signal where like a boy would walk around the hut and wait for a certain time and then whistle as a signal to the girl on the inside to get out, okay? Then they would go do the business in the bushes somewhere or something like that, okay? So it was forbidden, it was made a taboo to make such behavior unacceptable, okay? So the pressures that are going on right now are not new to us, the same way alcohol has existed for several years, yeah? The question is, what path are you going to take, okay? And when we look at freedom, yeah, and how we make our decisions, then we need to recognize that we are capable of choosing things that our bodies might not want, okay? So for example, if you have, I'll go back to reading books, okay? You have exams coming up. Your body, you might not want to read, but you will make the decision to read because you know what it is that you want to do, okay? Whether you want to pass your exams because of pressure, because you'll be beaten, whatever, yeah? But you choose something that is opposite from what you're feeling and still choose to do the right thing, okay? So you're greater than your emotions. You're greater than your desires, okay? Can you make decisions? Can you train yourself to make decisions based on the truth, okay? If you can do that, then you'll have mastered yourself, right? That you're the one who decides which path to take, all right? Regardless of how you feel emotionally, right? And if you're able to do that, then you can achieve a lot more than you can imagine. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So it's about being intentionality. It's about making a choice to remain chaste and to choose the path that you want to choose. And if you're getting something, is all these conversations we are having, this is not the first time we are having them, right? They have been there over time. A friend of mine likes saying, there is nothing new under the sun. Your case is not new to you're not the first person to struggle with it, but the beauty is there are people who have made through. Sawa. There are people who have gone through. And Akechu mentioned something about getting hurt and the world would break us into a million pieces. And what we have had many cases of, let's say somebody was in a relationship, they got heartbroken, and then they say, na nyinyi mutanitambua. They decide now they are going to break every single person's heart, or they now decide, since nishafanyiwa hivi, why not just continue? So what should be our response from getting hurt? From the hurt that you have been hurt? How do I start again? What do I do from there? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And it so happens that my ministry is to wounded people, people who've been hurt through their sexual choices. They've had abortions, they've become pregnant, they've been rejected when they're pregnant. Those are the people I minister to. So I've seen this story. Sometimes I just cry You know, somebody calls you, they're like, I'm pregnant. I'm calling his phone, he's not answering. I went to his place, he moved out. He said he doesn't know me. Those are there are times I just cry because I'm like, when will we learn? But I also made my own mistakes, and that's why I'm passionate about this issue. So to answer, what is the response? The response is healing. It's just healing. Find someone and speak to them, because when we are wounded, we don't think right. When we are in pain, we don't think right. And that's why somebody will say, I'm now going on rampage. I'm retaliating. And you're not retaliating to the person who wounded you. You're retaliating to that innocent person. Like, for example, if it is a guy who had prospects to marry or really loves this person, maybe you're not even thinking of marriage, but you're thinking, this is the person that I think I want to, spend with or be with for a long time until I decide to get married. And the person hurts you, and you just think, okay, now all the girls that come into my life, I'll just have sex with them and dump them because I've been hurt. You can imagine you will have sex with somebody who is a virgin, was not thinking in their minds that they would ever be dumped and something like that. So you're retaliating on people who are innocent instead of you addressing that pain and that wound. So you're causing a negative ripple effect, because as you're having sex with all these other people, you're creating a problem in them as well, and then they're having sex with people to retaliate what you did. We need healing. We need healing. And I usually tell the people I minister to that unless you sort out your emotional baggage, you will not be a healthy spouse, you will not be a healthy parent. And that's again another gap that we have. There are many parents who are not healthy, and that's why they don't know how to discipline their children, because they are unhealthy, they're having wounds and baggage. They don't know how to be healthy citizens. If you're having those heartbreaks and those wounds, even just relating to other people that is not your girlfriend or boyfriend, you'll relate to them in a very unhealthy way. So it is always important to sort out your baggage before you get into another relationship, because the other relationship will be a rebound. I don't know if you've heard about that. A rebound. You're looking for a way to heal that part, but in a wrong way. I'm sure right now there are guidance and counseling teachers in the schools, isn't it? That you can go and talk to. There are peer educators in the universities that you can talk to. If you go to a church, there is somebody there in the church, a pastor, a youth leader, whoever it is that is significant for you to talk to. Please talk to them about what's happening in your life so that you can have healthy relationships. If you don't sort out your emotional baggage, you will get into unhealthy relationships, but you will also create other unhealthy relationships.
Thank you. Can I have 2 volunteers? Preferably male. 2? Any bold man in the congregation? We don't have, thank you very much. Another bold man in the congregation? Any bold man? Good. Please come forward. Let us appreciate the bold men in our society. Please come. All right. Please have one. Yes, just hold it. I am informed that I am supposed to time you. Do you have a timer? Yes. So you're supposed to, are you able to see them? Or move, please move that side. Somewhere Mr. Bitha can see you.
So there and there.
One person there, one person here. All right, so we'd want these people to tear the papers. Separate them. Yes, separate those papers. Sawa. In 1 minute, okay? You have 1 minute to separate those papers. You should have a pink one and a blue one, okay? This bold man must definitely know how to separate papers. It can't be that hard. And your time starts now. Try as hard. Please do your best. You can do this. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Amazing, amazing. Our bold men are overworking. 30 seconds to go. I love the work they are doing. You're doing an amazing job. 20 seconds. You only have 15 seconds. Just separating a paper. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. 9 seconds to go. Imagine there are only 2. And stop. Thank you. Let us see your good work. Let us see the good work. Please raise it up. We need to see the amazing work that our men have done. Please carry both your papers. We need to see both papers. Both papers. What's your name, please? What's your name? Kevin, please carry. Where's your blue paper? Where's your blue paper? Where's the blue one? Oh God, please carry it high. Carry it high. Yes, yes, yes. We can see we have amazing papers. Yes, so we can have Dr. Ms. Tabitha.
I receive, doctor. Now, listen. Just hold the 2 papers up. I gave the 2 papers clean that way, right? And then I gave glue. Young men, hold your papers up and show people both sides. Both sides
of your paper, yes.
Okay? Show your other side. When you see his other side, you might think, sio mbaya sana, especially this side, the pink looks okay, the blue looks broken. What we are saying here is, God created sex as a symbol of a covenant that was supposed to make 2 one. Did you hear that this morning? That if sex is not consummated, then that marriage, doesn't happen, eh? So when as a young person, you go having sex here, then unajitoa, sindio? Then let's assume this pink one now looks for that blue one. Then they link up together, anajitoa. Then goes to another one. What really happens? So we are saying God created sex to be a good thing. But when we mishandle it, it breaks you and breaks you and breaks somebody else. Then thank God for the ministry of a catch, because we normally say wounded people bleed on people who did not wound them. So you can imagine 10, 15 years from now, this pink girl here meets that blue boy there. Now, what happens on a wedding day? How many of you love weddings? Do you see how beautiful the whole thing is, eh? Let me tell you, young men, listen to me well. One day you'll be standing up at kanisa, you're crying, you're seeing this kachik coming, kumbe ni makara, some just broken things you're being brought. You have no idea, because the person has been everywhere, yeah? Ngoja ujaribu hiyo bonding, inakuwa ngumu. So the goal of staying chaste is, like she said, is for tomorrow. For you to arrive whole, 1 + 1 makes 1 in God's mathematics, eh? Not half plus half makes 1. 1 + 1. Keep yourself so that when you arrive in this state, and then when you get there, you stay. You make it work so that even you give now the next generation a great gift. So if you forget everything we were saying, sex was not meant for before you're married, because sasa utaruka utaharibu.
Yes, before Kechi you speak, I have a question, just to follow up on what Ms. Tabitha has said. On both of us staying pure, as a man and as a woman. But there's this notion that, and this fear that we might have, I will stay pure. I will stay pure and chaste on my side. What assurance do I have? Because that is a fear we have. What if the other party is not staying chaste? And that might push us to let's just all have it, then we will meet later, both of us. What assurance do you have now that you are married?
My dear, there are no assurances. Okay? I would be lying to tell you there are assurances. But, what I was saying is that we can create a community of people who are like-minded and who are chaste, so that when you come to that point, then you'll have a pool to pick from of people of like-mindedness, okay? Yes. But still, God God is the one who created this. God created us. God is a God of a second chance. It doesn't mean that if somebody messed up, then they are done for life. God has a way of restoring. You know, there's what we call secondary virginity. There's true healing at the cross. True healing when we make mistakes. So there's no condemnation. But it's just more difficult to get yourself back to where God wanted you. It's easier to just keep it going. And then with that clarity, with community help, when you're ready to get married, involve people to tell you, Apo, unajidanganya, you're only liking the physical. You have no idea what else. And when you listen, you're likely to come to a place. Assurance is in God.
Yes.
And yes, sometimes two quarters meet. And because they submit to God and walk with God and walk in counsel, God makes it work. But it is not what God intended from the beginning. It is just easier if we can create a pool, a community that values family, that values relationships. Then it becomes so much easier.
Thank you. Thank you. Let us appreciate our bold men as they take their seats. You can go with the papers as a sign of the amazing work that you have done. Yes. Kechi, you are saying something.
I actually wanted, please give me those papers.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you want them?
I actually needed them.
Sorry.
And everything that Auntie Tabs said just now is exactly what I wanted to say.
Amazing.
But give me those pieces.
Okay, please.
I want them. But to illustrate. Now, my ministry, my organization receives people when they're like this. Broken into very many million pieces. Because in their younger years, they were told it's okay to have sex, to enjoy sex. But they come with the repercussions and the consequences. And so what we try to do is to try and piece these pieces together. Yeah. Try and piece it together. Auntie Tabs, hold for me the blue one. We try and put these pieces together. Hata sijui nitafanyaje. Kuja unipatie microphone hivi. Unaona? Ngoja, let me pick another one. Another blue one. We try to do this, See, they are still falling as we are trying to put them together. Look at what Auntie Tabs is holding, the blue one. Can this and this go, can they go together? Can they, This is a person who was told it's okay to have sex. They made the choices to have sex, okay? This is how their lives literally look. I have seen them. They've cried with me, okay? This is how they look like. But they once were like this. And it's difficult to make these pieces look like this. But we all, when we are born, when we grow up, we always want to remain like this. And that's why we are telling you today, make your choices now. However, as Auntie Tabs has said, God is a healer. God is a healer and is a God of second chances. I have known people, and my life is one of them. I had 2 abortions when I was young. I was broken like this. But I submitted my life to God. And He has joined me so much. I don't think we can ever be perfect. We can never be this way. But we can get to a semblance of this. And through my brokenness, I've been able to minister to people. And they've come back to wholeness. Okay? They can be able to testify and say, I was once like this, but God has given me healing. But God's purpose is not these pieces of paper. That's not what God wants for you. Never. So if you're here today and you've had sex, and you're masturbating, and you're doing all those manner of things, you're in a bad relationship, you're watching porn, we can pray for you today and help you start a new journey. But if you look like that piece that Auntie Tabs has, please remain like that. Me, I want to close down my organization. I don't want to keep getting calls. Oh, I did this, I did that. I want to close it down because I don't have clients. Okay? And it is your choice, your generation, to make that choice. Sawa sawa?
Yes. Cool. All right. Thank you. So I would like to have questions from you guys. Yes, I would love us to get some questions that you have for our panelists. If you had questions for Ms. Tabitha, it's still okay to raise them. I don't know whether you have mics going around, or how are you doing this? Yes, there's a lady here. Yes, you can. Or we can use these mics. We're using this one. Any hardworking man who wants to help me run around? Or you want to leave a not so young man? It's off. Okay, it's good.
Good afternoon.
To a cage. Uh-huh. Okay, so should we want to go into detail of the brokenness you're talking about? As we get the mic, there's another lady up there. We can take 3 questions and then we respond. Or if you don't want to, if you want to remain anonymous, how can we do this? You can write it somewhere and give it to, pass it around, then we'll get. If you have many questions, we won't know who asked what. Yes.
My question is directed to Mrs. Tabitha, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's not actually a question, but I had a different perspective. You told the girls here, or the young ladies, that they hold much power in a relationship. And I think that's not quite correct, because I feel like whenever we give information and education to both sex, everyone has an equal power. And I've been attending very many sessions like this, and the boys are always told, or the men, boys-stroke men, are always told, treat these ladies as your sisters or mothers. Personally, I do not agree with that. You know, it shouldn't be about proximity. I want you to treat a lady, a girl, as a lady or a girl, not just because it might be your sister. You know, people usually say, imagine that was your sister, imagine that was your mother. No, imagine that was a lady. That was a lady. So, yes, I still believe people have equal powers in the relationship. If I am here and I want to get this pen, I'll get this pen. Doesn't matter if I am physically handicapped or the pen is far away. If I want that pen, I want that pen. So if you want someone to respect you, make sure they do, not just because you're a lady or you're a man.
Thank you. Any third question? I see the ladies are excited at supporting her points. Any other question? Yes, there is a hand raised. Someone can please help me pass the mic to him as our panelists prepare to respond. This side. There's a hand raised there.
Thank you so much. My question will maybe go back to some kind of a historical context where today we have youth approximately born between 1994 and 2000. They are the guys now we are observing most. And what could be the problem with this generation? Because I'll look at it as though love was suffocated for these guys. Like their parents never loved them enough. Having the issue of technology coming in, we have, when our parents were coming up now to get educated in a more advanced way, maybe going for university and beyond that, going even for doctorate levels, then cultural values have really been neglected. Even if we talk about sexual chastity, we are really having a problem with our cultures. How can we address that today? Just looking at the generation ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with Keisha. For the rest, please, you can keep your questions, just write them, just in case you forget, and then we'll address them.
Okay, I've just chosen to stand because I'm very passionate about this issue. Now, Dr. Wahome did a very good presentation here, and he actually showed the consequences or the repercussions of sex. I don't know if you were there, but it was very well illustrated, and that's the brokenness that I'm talking about. But then, just to remind us, I think even Auntie Tabitha said that we are not just physical beings. We are social beings, we are mental beings, we are spiritual beings, we're emotional beings. And so when you have sex, all those faculties are involved in that sexual activity, and the consequences will affect all that as well. It's not just, the way the media shows you two people in a movie have the hots for each other, and then you see them grabbing each other into the bedroom, removing clothes and jumping on the... And you just think it ends there. It's a lie. They've just shown you the physical part. They don't show you the woman crying because the guy dumped her and went for one night stand with another person. They don't show you the woman got pregnant and contemplated abortion and had an abortion, and because of that, the woman is depressed, is suicidal, is struggling with even eating disorders because of the abortion, struggling with who they are, their identity because of the abortion. Those are the things I deal with every day. But let's just divide them into these faculties and see the consequences that are in all those areas. So emotionally, sex can bring low self-worth. I have seen time and time again women who come to me and say, I had sex the first time, I broke my virginity, I told myself, what else is there to lose? I've already lost one very important thing in my life. And so they give themselves again and again and again, because that thing that is very valuable to them, they've already given it out. And I think it also affects men. My ministry is to women, so I hear a lot from women. I'm sure somebody has been called to men and they will tell us that there's a lot of regret. Like I said, sex is one of the things that when you compromise in, it sabotages your life. There's a way that God created sex that it affects every part of your life. And so you begin to regret having made that choice because it has caused your life not to go to the direction it was supposed to go. So there's regret, there's feelings of being used because you gave yourself to this person thinking that this is the person I want to stay with for the rest of my life, and then they dumped you. So there's feelings of being used, there's heartbreak, there's hatred and bitterness, there's shame. You're forever walking with this shameful baggage on you, and you can't lift up your head. I remember the first time I had sex, I was feeling like it has been written on my head. Everybody knows I had sex, Then socially, there's rejection, there's embarrassment. You're forever getting embarrassed about who you are. There's loss of trust. You don't trust anyone anymore, and therefore it gives birth to one-night stands because I can't trust because my boyfriend dumped me, my girlfriend dumped me. Right now we are not doing commitment. You don't need to know my name. You don't need to know where I'm coming from. Let me just give it to you, and we move on. And then there's isolation. Then mentally, you have to deal with the memories of the 42 men or women you've had sex with, okay? You have to deal with the fact that you've given pieces of you to all those men. How do I get back all these pieces? You have to live with that reality every day of your life. Of course, it gives birth to stress. You don't know whether you're pregnant. You don't know whether you have an STD. You don't know whether you have HIV. So your life is full of stress. And then it has delayed or loss of goals. If you have to deal with things like pregnancy, it delays your goals in life, or you lose those goals in life and probably have to come to a plan B of your life. Then physically, there's loss of virginity. Like I explained, many people give themselves sexually because they lost their virginity in the first place. Then there are diseases you have to deal with. There's unplanned pregnancy, there's abortion, there's death. Even if it is not death of your physical self, but death of your goals, death of your dignity, death of your values, death of just everything about you, that you wish you had a grasp of. And then there is, single parent homes because we didn't make responsible choices in our sexuality. Again, not to castigate anyone. We all make mistakes, but then we learn from those mistakes. So basically, and then there's soul ties, okay? Very important. soul ties. There are positive soul ties and negative soul ties. A soul tie can be, I hang out with this friend and I love this friend. We study together. We share about God together. And every time you're thinking about that, oh, when will I meet that friend to, to study the Bible together because they give me good insights. That thinking of that friend all the time is a positive soul tie. But then when you have a negative soul tie, you've had sex with this person, and every time you're dealing with missing the person, wanting to be with the person, wanting to have sex with the person, yet you know it's a wrong thing that that you're doing. When you break that relationship, it will be difficult for you to move on because your soul is tied by the bond of sex to that person. And that's why you find people cannot move on from a sexual relationship, and they have to break that soul tie for them to be able to move on. There's a lot I could say, but yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Miss Tabitha, there was a concern that was raised. And then the girl, yes.
Okay. I would actually have to want to talk to the lady afterwards. But what I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that if something went wrong, the blame is on the girl and not the boy. I am saying that in the roll up to the sexual activity, okay? The person with more sensibility to step away before this thing blows out of proportion is the girl. I say that without fear of contradiction, and I also say that to mean that God was not unfair. Because the consequences, I don't know about you and your organization, the consequences when this thing goes wrong with our sexuality and our use of sex, they lie heaviest with the lady. You know, they lie heaviest with the lady. That's a discussion we can take a whole day and get medics in. But I'm saying in the run up, and you see here we are different age groups. So again, I am very careful. How much can I say? How much can I not say? But I'm saying in terms of from when you're two of you, kijana msichana, and now the emotions and the firing up for needing or wanting this sex is happening. The person whose senses, again, there are no 100% with rules. But the person with the highest senses to be able to walk away before the actual intercourse between the girl and the boy is the girl. Okay, we can talk about that later, maybe on one-on-one. And so I'm saying that, so I'm saying that girls, we need to be more careful because we bear greater weight of the consequences. And I'm saying, boys, we need to rise up and say, you know, just like the original story we saw there, where the world seems to be looking like life can go on without you guys. It was the hen and the egg and the no. Your role as a boy, as a man, as a male figure in the whole scenario is so important. So if you're relating with a girl, you need to think beyond, I need this, she needs it, let me supply. You need to think beyond, what am I doing to her? You know, are we in a marriage context? Is it good for her? Or am I just doing this because I need something? Well, she looks like she needs it, so let's go ahead. So I'm calling up the boy child to say, for us to put this picture back where it needs to be, we need men who will look at girls, all women, as people that, you know, need a certain level of respect and honor and protection, because that way, then we take our role that then brings protection. But I'm not shifting blame, or I'm not saying easier or whatever, but I'm saying, girls, God has given you something which if you realize, you will never feel like this thing is out of control and these people are stronger and I just had to do it because there's no way I could get out of it. So that's the context with which I'm saying that.
Thank you. As Nyingi wants to comment, I want to hear from Nyingi and Mr. Tony, because you are the men in this panel. And many other times when you have this conversation, the responsibility, as the lady has said, the lady has many responsibilities. As you said, The evidence of sex will not be seen on the man, will be seen on the lady. So, what is the responsibility of the man? What is, as a man who has been through the process, for example, Mr. Tony, you are young in campus. What is the responsibility of that young man in high school, the young man in campus, whether they are single or they are dating? If they are single, what's the responsibility of a man in this context of chastity throughout their life and in relation to the ladies in their lives? If they are in a relationship, what is the responsibility of the man in this whole context of chastity? So I know you had something to comment, but also you can respond on that.
Okay, so just something quick. The lady brought up a very good point, and that when we look at people, then we should see a lady, not necessarily see our mother or our sister, okay? I think how the point was brought up was maybe for the sake of an example, okay? Because the relationship, so for example, the men in this room, when you see your mother, you don't see her sexually, okay? But you still have a relationship with her, okay? Mm-hmm. So you can have a relationship with a woman that is not sexual and you won't die, okay? Yeah, so I think that's maybe how it was supposed to come out, yeah? That even though maybe you don't want to look at it as your mother, then you also don't look at your sister sexually, okay? You see a lady and you treat her with the respect that she deserves as a lady, okay? Without the sexual aspect, and you still successfully have a relationship, okay? So can you transfer that way of thinking to every other lady that you interact with? Can you apply that mentality to everyone else? Yeah? Or do you only see the people outside of your family as someone I can get a chance with or not? Okay? So I think that's maybe how it was brought up. That just makes sense that way. Another thing is that when you're looking at this lady, then you're seeing another human being, okay? Mm-hmm. And as human beings, then we have value within us, okay? Not because we've gained it, not because we've earned a lot of money and we've bought our human dignity, okay? Whether you're young, old, poor, rich, it doesn't matter. You have value, yeah? Are you able to see this other person's value, or do you only see what you can get from them, okay? So if you're looking at another human being and you're not seeing the value within them, then you've already started making the mistake, even before we end up at sex, okay? If you see a human being and you only see what it is that you can gain, you're not looking at this person as a human being, you're looking at them as an object, okay? If you look at them holistically, then you cater for everything, or you think about them in a whole way, not just one aspect, right? Another thing that's very, very key is that there's a fundamental difference between boys and girls in the sexual setting, okay? And one thing I would like to, at least a gentleman, to remember is that the girls don't choose the responsibility, okay, once the consequences come. So for example, if a lady gets pregnant, it's literally attached to you and growing from the food you eat, okay? You bear that responsibility because that is the nature of that activity, all right? For the men, you must decide to choose to take up that responsibility, okay? If you fail to choose to take up that responsibility, then you have failed as a man, all right? So a mistake has been made, for example, or a choice has been made. Let's not call it a mistake. It could, yeah? A choice has been made, and here are the consequences of that choice, okay? For the ladies, you bear that responsibility whether you like it or not. For the men, you must stand up and take it, okay? If you refuse to take it, then you're the problem in society, okay? So it's not easy, and it's definitely not as simple as I'm making it sound, yeah? I don't think any of the conversations we've had today are as easy as it sounds. So even though we're talking about, there's nothing new under the sun, it's true. But this is the first time you're going through this life, okay? You don't have the experience of every other person that's ever lived, right? So the thing is, can you bank on the understanding of others, can you try and avoid the mistakes that have been made in the past by looking at them as you live through your life for the first time? Or will you make your own decisions and find out how things go? All right? Yeah? There's a bit of both in life, but avoid mistakes that have already been repeated. All right?
Thank you. We can hear from Mr. Tony. Time is really running out.
So first of all, allow me comment on a question that was raised by a gentleman over there. Then maybe
Yes.
I'll also comment on our responsibility as men. He had asked, what is the issue with this generation and how do we go about it, especially as far as chastity matters are concerned. And I remember earlier we mentioned the issue with the dysfunctional families. And I want to help us realize that all these things will boil down to decision making. So that when we are saying somebody ought to remain chaste, then it will eventually be you being intentional, you making that decision. Now you come to realize we are talking about dysfunctional families where parents are not available. And these are so many problems. You come to realize it's a cycle. When in a society we have issues, it will affect the family, it will affect the system, the school, it will affect almost every aspect of that society. Now you realize if parents are not available, and somebody might actually wonder, if teachers were seated here, they would wonder, what are you talking about that children are not loved? Because we have parents insisting to come and see their children. We have parents bringing their children to school when they are coming back and picking them. And we are the people actually sometimes telling them, let him be a man, let him come home. Now, one of the things you realize, all these gifts and actions might not necessarily mean love. It's actually a desperate a way of parent wanting to show that presence they are not giving by, giving presents. Now you realize we are growing with a younger generation that is, as she said, crying for attention and all that. But you come to realize you have to make a decision to remain chaste. Now when we are making this decision, she talked about you wanting that, because all of us want affirmation. We are born, when we are young, we are born with like a tank of love that needs to be filled. The more we are affirmed, the more we receive that love, the more complete we become. And we ought to realize if we didn't get this, then we might want it from other places. And I want to insist this point, that the best place for us to get the right identity is actually in Christ. We are trying to grapple and get answers to our issues. How do we handle sexuality? How do we handle relationships? And we are wondering which is the best source for us to get these answers. Because the truth be said, teachers might not be available. You talked about guidance and counseling teachers, and the issues we are having in school are screaming. Those teachers cannot even handle those issues. You need like 20 teachers like where I am for them to handle those issues. I want to give you a solution that first of all, if I don't believe in Jesus Christ, and then live that faith daily, it will be the same story day in, day out. So if you ask me today to give you one-touch solution to these issues, and it is not as one-touch as it sounds, but it will help us get there. If you believe in Jesus Christ, if you have that faith, and then you intentionally daily live that faith. I remember back then in campus, people come with issues and they tell you, it just happened, sex just happened. And the truth is, sex does not just happen. In campus, you visit your boyfriend as early as 6, and you stay in that house, and you talk. It is 10, it is 11, it is 12. Then you hear drops of rain up there, and then you are saying, you can take the sofa, I will take the bed. I mean, this is a process. Didn't you see 12 a.m. coming? I mean, you could have made that decision. So if you're in a relationship, for example, for those that are in the university, romantic relationship, you want to be intentional about decisions like we are not going to go on date in our houses in privacy. You want to welcome in people who might provide accountability. All these principles are actions, intentional steps we are going to take. So yes, we must be strong enough to take that. And allow me just one more thing to add. You asked the responsibility of a man. Yes. In Ephesians chapter 5, Paul talks about the men who are in marriage loving their wives. And now for a man who is in marriage to love their wives, then that means a younger man must build towards that priest he will become one day. So that if I get it wrong when I'm younger, if I get it wrong in decision making, then that means I will not manage loving that wife. So in 1 Corinthians 14, allow me read 13 from verse 4, which actually defines to us love. Sharon mentioned I've written a book on love or lust. Challenging us to look at whether we are making decisions to get into romantic relationships based on true love or actually just lust. So Paul says here in verse from verse 8, love never stops loving. It extends beyond the gift of prophecy. Allow me start earlier, verse 4. Love is large and incredibly patient. And I'm answering the question of the responsibility of a man in a relationship. Love is gentle and consistent. So that means a man must be gentle, a man must be consistent, because you're displaying that love. It refuses to be jealous. When blessing comes to someone else, love does not brag about one's achievement, nor inflates its own importance. Love does not traffic in its own importance. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as a defeat, for it never gives up. So in one sentence, I will say this. This is the responsibility of a man. You cannot just be chaste. You cannot just choose to obey God in one area, sexuality. It is starting there, believing in Jesus Christ, and then growing in daily. If you can't practice integrity in your exams, if you can't be honest in your exams, it will be very hard for you to be honest in your relationship, because this is not a principle you have built. So for us to answer all this, for us to have integrity in all these aspects of lives, we must start somewhere by knowing Him, having that faith, believing in Jesus, and living that faith.
Thank you very much. Because of time, allow us to take the questions that we have here. I will start with Kechi, and then I'll go to Auntie Tabi. Then we will then give this to as we proceed. Take the shortest time possible.
Possible. Hey, when it comes to sexuality, we need 2 days. Okay, so the question is, you have said that if you start engaging in sex, you will keep on wanting it. Help me to know what you will do so that that thing will go. Okay, again, Dr. Ngare addressed this issue, but basically, what are you doing with yourself that allows you to want to have sex? There are things that you need to do so that we can quench that thirst of wanting to have sex. Number one, what are you seeing? What are you watching? What are you reading? Some of us are exposed to a lot of pornographic material. The movies that we watch, the literature that we read is highly sexualized. So you're trying to quench this fire of sex, but you're exposing yourself to everything that is telling you to have sex. How are you going to stop having sex? It will be difficult, isn't it? It's like when you're craving pizza and you know it is wrong to have pizza, you don't go to a pizza joint. You don't go to the malls. You don't hang out with people who are going to have pizza. When they're going for lunch, they're going to have pizza. You cut that relationship with pizza. So the same way, cut your relationship with anything that encourages you to have sex. Number two, breaking of soul ties. Because you are having sex with this guy, and maybe you've broken the relationship and you desire to, you're still desiring to have, that is a prayer issue. And I was there. I had to break that soul tie through prayer because I had sex for 3 years, and when I broke the relationship, I desired to have sex until I went to a pastor and they prayed for me and they broke that soul tie That's how it helped me. But I also had to work at what I watch. Okay. What I watch and what I expose my eyes to. And then other relationships. Are you hanging out with people who are perennially talking about sex? I've heard in our institutions nowadays, people come back after the weekend and they're like, hey, it was like this. Hey, it was like that. They're giving you stories about sex. How are those friends helping you? Cut those links with them. Attach yourself to friends who have the same values as you. Friends who are keeping themselves from sexual activity. And like Mr. Tony said, Jesus. I used to tell Jesus, if you don't hold me today, I'm going. I used to be very honest with God. Engage God with your hormones. Tell him how you're feeling. He's the one who put them there anyway. If you don't engage him, you'll make mistakes. I have a friend who says, when you start praying, God tells the angels to bring popcorn because I am honest with Jesus. I tell him everything I feel. So cultivate that relationship with God that you can be honest with him because only he can help you. Then read Romans chapter 8. Tafadhali andikeni. Romans chapter 8. Go memorize Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. Okay. One of the consequences of sex is exchange of emotions. If one has decided to abstain after doing sex, what happens to the emotions that were exchanged? What can one do to be chaste again? Okay, I've addressed some of those issues. But like I said again, soul ties, you have to break soul ties. But understanding, again, when you talk about relationships is an investment, okay? Every time you're spending time with that person, you're calling that person, you're investing into, like the way you'd invest into a bank account. You're saving 100 bob every day. One day, after 1 year, you will have to withdraw from that bank account, okay? So what are you investing in this relationship? If you're investing the negative things, the sex, the porn, all those bad things, that is what you end up withdrawing. So what I can say right now, when you're ready to be in a relationship, make sure you invest 1 Corinthians 13, chapter 4, which Mr. Tony has already read. I think we're just repeating ourselves. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Now, the last question, is it true when somebody has sex? Okay, basically, that when you stop having sex, you will die. It's a lie. See, I've said I had sex for 3 years, and I'm here standing talking to you. Did I die? Couples have sex, they have children. There are times one of them travel. They don't have sex for 1 week, 1 month. Do they die? It is what we call a misconception of sex. This friend who has told you that because you've written that, my friend told me, she has lied to you. He or she has lied to you. And if it's a potential boyfriend, run. It is a lie. In fact, you're at risk of dying because of having sex rather than dying because you did not have sex. Amen?
There is a question about if a person is feeling insecure about herself or rejected by a community, how can you help them? I will advise that you see a mature adult because insecurity as a source, they can walk you through to see why do you feel insecure, why do you feel rejected by a society. Sometimes it could be more in your mind than it is actually out there. So if you see such a counselor, they can walk you through. Yes.
I think also, I don't sound rude or brutal, okay? But think about the worst case scenario if your friend doesn't like you because of something you didn't do with them. What's the literal worst thing that can happen, okay? I'm not saying it's easy, I'm not saying, it's the best feeling in the world, but your life doesn't end because you are not liked, okay? Another thing is, in life, what you learn is that you have to say no more often than you have to say yes in order to move forward, okay? And if you don't learn to say no to your own friends, then it becomes very difficult to make big decisions, okay? So surround yourself with people who can respect your decision making, okay? Look at it from that perspective. If my own friends can't let me make my own decisions, yeah, they don't respect that, okay? I'm not saying go and dump all your friends starting today. What I'm saying is your boundaries need to be respected, okay? And if there's something that you're not willing to do, if you get made fun of, can you take it, okay? Are you brave enough to live by the decision that you want to make, okay? If this is what I've decided to do, everything that comes with it, the ridicule, the hard decisions, the feelings of, you know, everyone's going in this direction and I'm not going, FOMO and stuff like that. Yeah, all that is part of the decision, right? So it's not, hey, here's the easiest way forward. No, what we're telling you is, this is the right way forward. Now, are you brave enough to go in that direction? Or will you be swayed to the easier option, depending on how you're feeling? And remember, regardless of how you're feeling, you've made decisions that are strong, that are different from how you're feeling. So it's not that you can't do it. It's will you do it? Okay? Oh, I had a question as well here. Okay. Why do people nowadays want to have sex early so they can gain fame? Is it because of peer pressure or just because they want to have fun? Okay? I think it's a very interesting question, and from the people I've interacted with in my life, there's so many different reasons why people engage in sex. Okay? It could be someone has spoken to you and has enticed you and you feel like you love them and that's what happens. It could be, this chastity thing is just not for me, or I just want to get my virginity out of the way. I've interacted with people who have 1,000 different reasons, okay? Yeah? And trying to understand each and every reason and saying that, for example, I won't do this because I don't want to end up like that person, yeah? That way of thinking can be dangerous because you might find someone who has succeeded through that, okay? So everything that we're saying here, remember there's brokenness and there's healing, okay? So there's people who have gone down the path that we're trying to get you off and they've succeeded, okay? They're doing well in life. Does that mean that's the path for you, all right? So the thing is, if you can avoid it, which is well within your capacity, then do it. If you're trying to understand why everyone else is making the same decision, everyone has their different reasons because everyone has their different feelings and their different history and their different emotion, their different relation with people, okay? The thing is, for you, decide where you want to go and walk the path according to the truth that will get you there, all right? And if something will veer you off that path, then avoid it, okay? Don't go into the pizza shop, okay? You're not going to die, okay? If for the men, if you feel that your friend group will make fun of you, which is very, very possible, you won't die, yeah? You can go to the gym. If it's confidence you want, become capable, okay? Play a sport. Get good at it, yeah? Then someone makes fun of you because of something, beat them in the field, okay? There's not only one way to gain confidence, okay? But are you brave enough to go down the path that you choose to, okay?
Thank you very much. Let us appreciate our panelists. Yes, I know we have a lot of questions. Please, as people will be going for the lunch break, you can see them, right? Yes, you can see them, any of them that you want to speak with them, and the many, many, many adults that are also here. Dr. Wahome is still around. We have Dr. Eda right here. We have so many people. Ann Kioko, I see you around. There's so many people who are around here that you can have these conversations with. Sawa sawa? Yes, so don't feel left out. And our teachers are also here to help us with these conversations. So this thing does not end here. You can continue with the conversation in your community. Sawa sawa? Yes, so I'd love to have our panelists give 1 minute or less parting shot as we leave the stage, and then we'll welcome Mr. George. Let me start with as we go.
Okay. One very important thing that we've not addressed in this forum, which I think needs to be addressed, is many of us have been sexually abused. Many of us has been ripped of our innocence without our permission. I want to say it is not your fault. This forum is not here to condemn you. You're a minor. If you've been done for that without your consent, we want to say it is not your fault and you need help. It's one of the reasons we also engage in sexual activity, because we feel we've been defiled without our permission. Somebody has taken away our innocence, and therefore I feel valueless. So, or we want to retaliate. You need help, okay? And if you're brave enough, talk to either me or Tabitha, or for the boys, talk to the gentleman here. I think we can consolidate the names because there are organizations that can actually help you. You need help. That kind of trauma, you cannot survive without intervention. And I'm very serious about it. Kindly come and talk to us. Number 2, my parting shot. How many of you are in Form 4? Form 4s? Form 4s? Form 4s? Or even Form 3s? Anyone in high school? Is Cynthia here? I saw your face. Cynthia from my organization. Anyway, I need you to register. This is curriculum that I wrote on sexuality for the mentorship programs that we run. After your Form 4, I need you to come to my organization so that we can mentor you, and then in turn, we will give you that responsibility to go back to the high schools and speak to them from this. I need your names if you're in Form 4 because I'm targeting you. So go and register on the table for my organization and then come to me. I am waiting for you.
Thank you. So mine is this. I will want to warn the young people against getting into the pressure of the hype of romantic relationships before it is time. Don't you forget that singlehood is not a disease that needs healing. So as people carries the hype of you need to be in a relationship, you need to be into sex and all that, first of all, build you. Before later you learn to love somebody for good, for worse, you need to love yourself first for good, for worse. Until you've known how to love yourself well, you not know how to love others well. Last thing, the devil is the same devil at the Garden of Eden. He's still doing what he does best. Stealing, killing, and destroying. The same thing of, did God really say? He will ask you severally. Proverbs 25:28. A man without self-control is like a city whose walls are broken. Trust the Lord to give you self-control. Thank you.
All right. I wish every one of you well. That God would protect you and give you, I like to say, wisdom beyond your age, to be able to see trouble and run away from it. The Bible says that a wise man sees danger and takes cover, but the simple keep going and then they get caught up. My scripture for you is Philippians 4:8. I tell young people, this is your filter to keep you safe. It says, not 4:8. Yes, Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is good of good report, if anything be of virtue or praiseworthy, think about such things. So whenever you're confused, is it good or bad? Should I do it? Should I not? Just ask yourself, is it true? Is it noble? Is it pure? Is it lovely? Is it praiseworthy? And keep yourself safe. There's a limit to how much we can keep you safe, however much we want. I pray that God will help you to build boundaries around yourself that keep you safe.
Okay, so there was a person who saw a fence and ran towards it and said, this fence won't stop me anymore. I'm going to jump over it and do whatever I want, okay? And they ran and they jump over it. and someone tries to stop them and says, don't jump, it's not a fence, it's a guardrail, okay? So imagine if there was something protecting me from falling off this stage, okay? If that doesn't exist, then I can fall off, okay? So the barriers that are put in your life, not everything is for the sake of preventing you from doing what it is that you want to do, okay? It's to protect you from what's on the other side, right? And as you grow older and older, you'll have to put those barriers for yourself, okay? And create your own path. But if you take nothing else from what I've talked about, take this one sentence, yeah? And you can write it down if you want to, that your freedom is your ability to choose good as a matter of habit, okay? Your freedom is your ability to choose what is good as a matter of habit. Decide from what we've been taught, yeah? What is good, and choose to do that continuously as a matter of habit until you master yourself, all right? And eventually, the feelings that drive you away from what is good will slowly disappear, because that's how habits are formed, all right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you're able to create time for us. For the many questions, please engage the panelists further and the people in our lives. Chastity is cool. Tell your neighbor, chastity is cool.
Chastity is cool.
Mwili wangu ni mali ya Mungu.
Mwili wangu ni mali ya Mungu.
Mwili wangu ni mali ya nani?
Ya Mungu.
My body is a temple of God. Sawa sawa. Thank you very much. I welcome Mr. George.
A round of applause tafadhali. Thank you very much to Sharon and the panel for the conversation we've had. I'm sure it has been a lot of wealth for you, lots of wisdom, and lots of reference point for you. So one more tafadhali, give it up to the panel tafadhali. Give it up, give it up, give it up. All right. And now we're going to go for a lunch break. You've been seated quite a while. All right. Okay. There's that one also. There's always that one. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. Make sure that one school sends one person to me so that you select one music that you will dance to for the afternoon session. Lazima tuone, kama shule. Now, the high schoolers, you're going to come back here. High schoolers, you'll come back here. So if you're in high school, you'll be here. Please, by 3:15, as you can see, we are a bit late. So by 3:15, we're going to be out here, as you can see. Before that, we need to be in your school bus. So, and then anyone else who is not a high school student, you go to room 6, which is under here. That's where so you'll gather for the afternoon session. So we're going to go for lunch right now. Have some lunch quickly. Teachers, please help. 3:15, let's be seated. Let us pray for lunch. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Bless us, O Lord, and these gifts which we're about to receive from your goodness through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. See you 3:15. Let's go.
It's DJ Justice.